Hello everyone, Miss Barron here. So I'm going to be going over the Boyle's Law lab with you and talk about how to take your data that you collected and use that to make some graphs and a table. So the first thing you want to do is you want to open up a blank Excel document. Make sure that you save it so you don't lose any of your work. And then I'm going to do a split screen between my data here and the Excel file. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to create a table here using my data. So notice for number 7 it says add a title for table 1. Make sure it describes what you recorded and with what instruments. So make sure data table 1 you write a title here, and then also when you go to make your data table in the Excel document, make sure you include that descriptive title as well. So some type of descriptive title. Make sure you talk about the gas that it was that we focused on in the syringe, which was the air, what we used to collect that data. We used the syringe and we used the veneer equipment, which is listed right here, the veneer lab quest, or just the veneer equipment. And also mention what we collected. We collected data on the volume, we used the syringe to do that, and the pressure, we used the veneer equipment to do that. So make sure your title is descriptive, so if somebody who has no idea, what gas laws are or anything about chemistry, they could read that and they could say, okay, I understand what this data table is telling me. So I'm going to put that there. I'll go back and fix this later. I'm just going to enter in all of my data to begin with. So we have our volume in milliliters. The syringe cc's in milliliters, those are the same thing. So I'm going to go ahead and just type in the volume. That was the volume on the syringe, again, which is in milliliters. In 20. Okay. Again, I'm going to go back and make this look nicer later. We had our pressure, which we measured in ATM. So my data here will look nothing like your data. We will get the same results in the end, so don't freak out if your data isn't like mine at all. The pattern should be like mine, but our numbers are not going to be the same at all, okay? But ultimately in the end, the results will look very similar. 0.74, 0.61, 0.49. And then over here, this is 1 divided by the pressure in ATM. So you need to take this number here. So I took I did 1 divided by 1.96 and I got 0.51, and I did that for each of these. So then I did 1 divided by 1.49 and I got 0.67. I did that for all of my data points. The reason that I'm doing this here is so we can ultimately create a graph where we can get a linear line, and we're going to get an equation from that, y equals mx plus b, and then essentially we're extrapolating our data that we collected and using it to make predictions. So now that I have all this done, I'm going to go ahead and make this look nicer. So I'm going to hover over here in between the A and the B, and I'm going to just double click so that I can widen that. Okay, and then in the top here, I'm going to, now that I got all my data entered, I'm going to go ahead and go back to a full screen here. I'm going to do merge and center. We'll bold that. Actually, I'm going to double click again so we can go back down to something that looks like this. I'm going to highlight everything. I'm going to do all borders. So now we have a nice looking data table. I'm actually going to go ahead and center everything as well. So again, to get things to look nice, just do this little arrow, double click so everything looks good. Merge and center the title. I'm also going to bold this as well. And then I added all borders. Now I have a nice data table. All right, so now I'm going to show you how to use your data to create your two graphs. So we're going to follow along with the instructions here. So we opened our blank Excel document. We created a data table just like that. We're going to make two graphs. So we're going to have, the x-axis and the y-axis for our graph. So for the first one, we're going to plot the volume versus pressure. So these two sets of data. So when you do this, you're just going to highlight the numbers. Don't highlight the titles at all. Just highlight the numbers. All right, and then we're going to go to Insert. You're going to click on this little drop-down button, and we're going to pick the first option that says Scatter. And this will be our, undo that. This will be our first graph. So a couple of other things we have to do is we have to click on the green plus sign here. If it doesn't pop up for you right away, just move the graph around and then it should pop up for you. We're going to click on that. We want to select, so we have axis, we want to select axis titles. And then we're going to go to trend line here, and I want to click on this little arrow so that I can get more options. And you want to go to more options, and you want to click the one that says power. This is just going to give us a really nice trend line here. And then I'm going to exit out of that. So now what you have to do is label your axis titles, and then again you need some descriptive title. So for the title here, get rid of that. I want you to title this, do I say it in the directions? Figure 1, or you could say graph 1. Either one would be fine. I just need it to be labeled somehow so that I know what it is. And then you need some type of descriptive title. So in this case, so it's going to be kind of similar to the data table, but in this case, you want to talk about what was recorded on the axes. So if you look here on this axis right here, all right, I can even click on that, or excuse me, here, there we go. So on the x-axis, which is right here, the data that is recorded there is the volume, okay, because you can see it goes from 0 all the way up to 20. So this is your volume. And remember, we recorded that in milliliters, so make sure you include that. And then on our y-axis, this is our pressure, which we recorded in ATM. So for your descriptive title, again, talk about the gas that it was that we focused on, which was air, the fact that we use a syringe and the veneer equipment to collect that data, and then this is pressure versus volume. So make sure you mention that in the title as well. So that is our first graph. For your second graph, we're going to plot the volume. So what you're going to do is you're going to highlight this, and then you're going to click and hold the Control key on your keyboard, and then you're going to click and drag to highlight this data as well. So again, you're going to highlight this, click and hold the Control button on your keyboard, and then click and hold and highlight this data. Again, just the numbers, not the titles. And you're going to click, we're going to select the same graph again. I'm just going to move this guy off to the side for a moment. Let's put it over here. All right, we're going to do pretty much the same thing. So I'm going to click on the green arrow here. I want to select axis titles, and I need my axes. This time for trend line though, we're going to we're going to go to more options again. You want to leave it as linear. And then you want to select this button that says display equation on chart. This is the equation you're going to use to answer questions 5 and 6 in order to make predictions. So remember, the x is the data from the x-axis, which is the volume, and then y is the pressure, right? Because that was recorded on the y-axis. And again, we're going to add our titles. So this is, again, volume in milliliters. And this time, the axis, this is 1 divided by pressure, which is in ATM. Again, this is why I had you guys do 1 divided by pressure, so we can get this nice linear line and this equation to extrapolate our data and use it to make predictions. Again, for the title, you can do, we'll do graph 2, and then some type of descriptive title. Mention that it's volume, you know, versus 1 divided by pressure, and it was the air, that was the gas that we took the pressure and the volume of using the veneer equipment with that syringe. So just make sure you mention all of those things, you know, eloquently worded in your title, okay? So graph 2, and then your descriptive title, whatever that may be. And that is it for creating your graphs. And then what you want to do is you can copy and paste these, or you can just screenshot them, because sometimes that might work better. And you're going to take both of them. We're going to put both of them in here. I would also include your data table as well. I think you can highlight and copy it, and you can paste it. If it looks a little funny, then I would just do a snippet of it instead. If it's going to look a little funny. All right. You know what? Let's do it so it looks a little bit nicer, actually. Do a nice little snippet. All right. Copy. All right, and make sure you put all of these things into the lab here, all right? And then again, make sure you save this just so you don't lose it. So you should have 2 graphs and your data table. I know your data table is right here, but I'd still like that as well. And then you're going to answer the analysis questions. So what type of relationship do you see between pressure and volume when temperature is constant? So you're going to look at graph number 1 to answer that question. Is it a inverse relationship where one variable decreases, the other increases? Or is it a direct relationship whereas one variable increases, the other increases? And then for numbers 2 and 3, you're going to use your data to make predictions. So to answer 2 and 3, you could actually refer to your data table. So as you go from 5 to 10 milliliters, what happened to the pressure? As you go from 20 to 10, what happened to the pressure? Make sure you don't just say increases or decreases. Make sure you say increases or decreases by a factor of blank. So for instance, if you're going from a volume of 5 to 10, so you're doubling it, what happened to the pressure? Did it also double, or was it cut in half? Same thing with number 3. If we double the pressure, or we double the volume, what happened to the pressure? Did it also double, or did it decrease by half, a factor of 2? And then number 4, if we triple the volume, so we go from 5 to 15, did the pressure triple, or did it decrease by a factor of 3? So that's what I'm looking for. Say increases or decreases with the pressure, and then by a factor of what? Based on what the question is asking and your data. Then for number 5 and 6, you're going to use the formula that you got from your second graph to make some predictions. So M and B, those are the numbers from the graph. X is the volume that you're going to plug in, and then you're solving for Y, and that's how you're going to make a prediction with your data.